Hey guys, welcome back to another action figure review. Today we have another import figure from Japan. Continuing on the Taimanin series from Second Acts, we have Sakura Igawa. On the front of the glossy red box, we have the Second Acts logo and the name of the figure. More logos of the studio and action figure series are on the back, with a few warnings on the box about small sharp parts, contact info, and a message about having to read the instructions. With the top of the box having the Taimanin Asagi 3 logo printed in white. Most high-quality figures from Japan will arrive in the warehouse wrapped in tissue, something that hardcore collectors leave on. Removing the figure from the bottom lets us remove the plastic tray holding all of the accessories and the figure. Just like the tissues on the boxes, it's very common to have your Japanese figures wrapped in plastic between the joints. They easily slide or tear off. This helps stop paint rubbing while in shipment. Sakura Igawa is from the visual novel series of games, Tainamin Asagi, set in the near future of Japan where demons have spread their influence and corruption, spreading from their dark world into ours. A secret organization of anti-demon ninjas called the Taimanin are then dispatched by the Japanese government to hunt down both demons and the humans who make deals with them. Sakura Igawa is the younger sister of Asagi Igawa, who started out as a trainee Taimanin. Full of a cheerful spirit, she's very carefree and upbeat, but also naive and foolish at times. But she always gives her full support to her friends and family, and takes a more serious tone when it comes to training and fighting. Eventually, she would graduate into a full-blown Taimanin, and continue to go on missions with her older sister. As her character evolved throughout the story, her appearance changed multiple times, from wearing skirts to different bodysuits, with this figure's appearance taken from the Taimanin Asagi 3 version of Sakura. Because the nature of your choose-your-own-path gameplay of the visual novel games, Sakura has multiple paths in the story, with many different games completely changing her backstory, important events, or even appearances. Just like her sister Asagi, Sakura is also based on the illustrations from Kagami from the Taimanin Series 3 visual novel game. Let's take a look at the details. Large blue anime-style eyes are the first thing we notice on the face. Small strands of her blonde hair covers the front of her face, slightly darkening at the tips. A small nose, light smile, and sharp chin gives the figure the classic anime look. A small blue earring can be seen on the side of the figure, with the bodysuit covering some of the neck with a large collar. More strands of blonde hair flow towards the back in a large upward curl. On the back of the head we can see the short style hair and in a few large hair spikes curling upwards and to the sides. A large set of breasts can be seen dominating the chest area, with a skin-tight suit made of a glossy, reflective dark blue color material. Underneath we have a better look at the stomach of the figure, with exposed skin on the sides, a silver trim on the bodysuit, and sculpted in details like the navel and muscles. The back is completely exposed, except for some of the silver colored armor trim wrapped around the shoulders and towards the waist. We have a small socket on the back that will be covered up and used later in the review. Continuing with the bare skin, the shoulders have no armor or a fishnet effect on it, leaving the bicep and shoulder joints exposed. A metallic orange and silver armor cover up the forearms, with the elbows being covered in a fishnet stocking effect. The gloves are a dark purple, with some small blue metal plates on the back of the hands. On the waist, the bodysuit transitions into a dark gray bodysuit, with the silver armor forming a bikini-style shaped armor over it, wrapping into the crotch area. On the lower back, we can see the butt of the figure covered in a skin-tight gray undersuit that ends in more of that silver armor trim towards the top. The thighs are split into two sections, heavily armored on the front and sides, with the large blue and silver trim plate of armor covering most of the thighs, detailed with small golden effects and trims. While the back and inside of the thigh are exposed, only having that skin-tight gray undersuit covering them. Just like the thighs, the front of the legs are heavily armored, with more plates of silver and golden armor designed in a sharp-edged blade pattern. While the back of the suit is exposed once again, with this area having more of that fishnet pattern effect. We wrap up looking at the details with the heels of the figure. Extremely small gold and silver high-heeled shoes, with a small blue heel detailed in small metallic sections. The small feet make the figure extremely hard to pose without the stand. Let's see the articulation of the figure. We have a neck joint that lets us rotate, bend up and down, and even articulate the neck joint to look up and down. Unlike Asagi, we have full control of the articulation on the head thanks to the short hair. We have shoulders that open that are on a butterfly joint, allowing you to pivot the shoulder forward and back, with full rotation at the joint. We have elbows that can only bend inward, but are designed in a way that has some excellent range of tightness, impressive for a single joint. And we do have rotation at the bicep that's cleverly hidden by the sculpt. Wrists that rotate and bend up and down. The breast of the figure can actually articulate, able to be lifted and rotated left and right. The chest has an ab crunch that allows forward and back bending with a bit of pivoting side to side with hardly any rotation. We have the same deal at the waist, able to bend forward and back with minimal rotation. The separate pelvic plastic area limits how much forward bending you're going to get in this area, as eventually it will block motion. We have the same style of unique leg articulation that Second Axe has created that takes a bit of learning to understand, but eventually lets you pose the legs in some extreme poses very easily. We have rotation at the thighs, double jointed knees that bend backward, ankles that bend up and down and rotate. The armor here will get in the way of any foot articulation, with the armor starting to restrict forward motion. And finally, a toe that bends upward. Similar in sculpt and height, Sakura has many similarities to Asagi, sharing a lot of similar body parts with only minor differences, with each standing just about 6 inches tall or 15 centimeters. They are both almost entirely using the same parts, so there's not much difference between the two other than the paint and a few accessories and the back of the figure. Next to another figure company from Japan, we have a Figma Darkness. Only slightly taller than Darkness, the Second Axe figures are labeled as a non-scale, not scaling to any ratio. Next to some 6-inch Hasbro style figures, we can see Sakura perfectly scales with this height ratio, sharing the similar height between the different brands and styles. Next to Mythic Legions that are on the larger end of the 6-inch scale, these monsters can get a pass for using with your Taimanin figures, where the shorter demons do a much better job scaling to the girls. Included with the accessories is an instruction book in Japanese. We get a few additional faceplates, starting with the smug, determined look, a plate with the lust expression with the tongue sticking out, and a moaning faceplate with the mouth open. Installing the faceplate is extremely easy, with the hair sliding out very smoothly, as well as the faceplate, easy to remove. Afterwards, you plug in the new face and then the hair over it, completely changing the figure's appearance. We get additional hands, including a pair of open palm grasping hands, a pair of hands with the peace gesture, and a pair of grabbing hands with the rectangle opening in the center. Swapping out the hands is extremely easy. The hands smoothly slide off the joint, allowing you to then peg in the new hands easily in and posing them. We get a pair of ninja katanas with a silver blade and a pink back and a black and gold handle. These swords can only be installed in the grabbing hands with the rectangle shaped hole exclusively for the swords. We have a pink and gold sword sheath accessory with both swords installed. At the back we have a small white peg to attach to the body. And another sword sheath, this time with the swords removed. To install the swords, you first remove the extremely tiny silver peg at the back of the figure. It's very fragile and easy to lose. Afterwards, you can then peg it into the socket where it will hold on tightly. We have a hollow, extremely glossy stand, a very lightweight, with a small hole for the claw arm. We have the arm for the stand with 4 points of articulation and the claw head at the top. The arm can easily socket into the base, allowing you to then secure the figure onto it. And if you don't want to use the claw on the figure, Sakura does come with a small hole on her back, allowing you to remove the claw and peg it into the figure itself. And we have a small cardboard sign made of real cardboard that translates into something like New Fresh Pig, Sakura's name, and her price. And to keep this review safe for work and YouTube, all of the lewd accessories will be shown in another private video, linked at the end of the review or in the description of this video. So check it out if you want to see the full uncensored parts. Sakura Igawa is another fan favorite of the Taimanin series, a must-have figure, especially if you want to pair her up with her sister Asagi. As her first release, she shares many similarities with Asagi. She might be too similar for some collectors, especially at this price. While she is accurate to the appearance of the Taimanin 3 visual novel, the only real difference here is the color and the head of the figure. Only time will tell if they'll release a metallic version of this figure like they did with Asagi, but for now her glossy look shines just as much as a metallic version would. With these figures only being sold by pre-ordering and very pricey, once again we miss out on having all of the accessories, as for unknown reasons they are sold as a separate package, exclusive to those living in Japan only unless you use a proxy. One of the more well-known features of Sakura were her comedically large giant breasts that could only be sold in this exclusive accessory pack, so like the other girls, it's a shame not being able to have the complete figure. Unlike the Yukikaze figure, Sakura does not feel fragile in any way, even though she's an extremely lightweight figure. The articulation and smoothness of the joints is something to be amazed at, with such tiny joints being able to be swapped out without much force. The articulation is still a bit of a puzzle when trying to do certain poses and hide the joints, but overall you'll be able to learn this unique system very easily. Now that I've had my hands on a few of these figures, I can definitely say that the Asagi style body is much more easier to handle than Yukikaze was. We do get a good selection of different hands to use and facial expressions, as well as a few options for her weapons, but it's still a shame that even the hands were just copies of what Asagi got. Sakura Igawa in this figure form is a dream come true for all the hardcore fans out there. You'll need no convincing to get this figure, as fans of the game already know what type of crazy poses and expressions they can get this figure in, especially with the lewd accessories in the second part of this review. Just like Asagi and Yukikaze, these figures are extremely expensive for a lewd figure. With cheaper alternatives that show more and have more features, the Taimanin girls are more of a holy grail than something you would just casually pick up. Especially if you want the extreme alternate parts that require a third-party shopper to pick them up for you in Japan. If you can find one after the pre-order period at a decent price, and she's one of your holy grail figures, she's definitely worth picking up if you're a hardcore fan, especially at that price. It's just a bit of a high price entry point for a lewd figure. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment letting me know how you like this figure, subscribe or share this video with your friends to help out the channel. And make sure to check out the loot section linked right now on your screen or in the video description below.